I mean, and most of the escape rooms are not, and they're, kind of lame, some of them, and you're like, oh, this could be so much cooler. But couldn't you do, with actors and, even like you said, it's 5 rooms versus 60 rooms. You don't need a warehouse to do this, but build a horror-based escape room that gives you sort of that hybrid feel between a haunted house and this. Do you have ideas for how to execute this? Because
I got an idea, actually. All right, it's a morgue mid-autopsy. We don't know what happened. One of the codes, you have to hide inside the cadaver. Somebody has to shove their hand into the chest and pull out the code to the next. That's my thought. That was my first thought I had.
He built me one just like this.
Oh, really?
It was in the back of the hearse.
Oh, nice.
And you dropped the hearse keys in the body. You had to get the keys.
All right,
It was
there we go.
like a giant game of Operation.
Yeah.
So you had to actually use the tweezers. You couldn't touch the sides.
Nice.
Or the body would wake up. It was, that is, I guess, I get to do a little bit of horror escape rooms because I build all the 5-minute escape rooms for Frightmare. But I'm itching to do a full horror based location.
this has got me intrigued. We might need to have a little business meeting after this episode.
Yeah, well,
I see a business opportunity here that this area desperately needs something.
Yeah, and in the past year, we've done 2 escape rooms with the office and everything, and we love them. I mean, they're great.
They're super fun, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there to make something that people are interested in, throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
It sucks that, for a lot of us, we love Halloween and Halloween never stops, right? And it's horror Halloween year round. But for a lot of people, the general public, they associate Halloween with 1 month, right? October.
Exactly.
And so I think the issue is how do we market to people who view it that way, and
May.
get them in
Exactly.
February 14th or December, when they've got Christmas on the mind.
I mean, I have a script.
Damn, all right.
It's evergreen.
It's done. It's ready. We just got to pull the trigger on it. We've been so occupied with other projects, and that's the negative to being that serial entrepreneur that we are, is we're always taking on new things.
Yeah.
Instead of just focusing on one thing. But I mean, it's when you guys want to do it, I got it. It's
all right. Stay
I'll
tuned.
share off mic, but I think it's gonna be right up your alley.
Did you guys talk before this and really start pushing? Because literally, this is all Jeff talks about. So
this is exciting.
Did you guys team up without me?
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah, exactly. We're starting this.
Yeah. Well, it's just the whole horror industry as a whole, and the haunted attractions. I think there's so many opportunities to evolve these. These attractions have been around for so long. I mean, the concept of a haunted house has been around for what,
forever, yeah,
100+ years or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, the interesting side to it too is seeing other people try to do it. I mean, we've seen plenty of horror-related individuals try and open a haunted house, and it doesn't work because when you're filming, you get to do a shot over and over and over again. But when you're doing a haunted house, you get one try to scare that group, and then it's on to the next group. And so there's been a lot of horror movie producers who've tried to do haunted houses, and even
Eli
tried
Roth,
to do
his in Vegas.
Yep.
Mhm.
Blumhouse is.
Oh,
is
yeah,
his
exactly,
that he's
yeah.
doing. Yeah. Rob Zombie did Great American
Oh, yeah.
Nightmare. Yeah. So I mean, there's plenty of them who've done it, and then they do it for a season, and they're done. They realize actually what goes into it and how difficult it can be. But I do think that the difference between that and the escape rooms is, like I said, it's a very different interactive element.
Actually,
Yeah.
I'm not
goblin,
walking through this
looking for
set.
gold,
I'm actually interacting
and find
with
some.
it.
Yeah.
And so it's
in
a
my
little
parents'
bit
house.
different experience that
Airbnb.
way.
I feel like it's almost more intriguing that way if you're a part of the story. You know what I mean?
Until it's about to happen. It seems so supposed to have to be like, actually, we changed our mind. You guys can suck our fucking nuts on it. Shut it down. No, really, shut it down.
But recently, Nintendo has been getting into the habit of approving
Bro, Clover is insane.
Exactly.
Which, you know, this is kind of a already getting to the good stuff, but this is kind of a pivot to the idea of extreme attractions, haunted attractions, right? Because I think there's the appeal to those is that you now become a part of the story and you are a part of the scare, the haunt.
Yeah.
And so,
Except you're not interacting with it; they're interacting with
Exactly.
you.
Right.
Exactly.
so because of course I wanted to ask you guys, what's your kind of take on the extreme haunts? And why would you never? There's probably pretty obvious reasons for why you went into it, but like, what do you guys think of Russ McCamey, the Blackout guys? What's your take on the extreme haunt? Do you think it's, you know, okay to do, or is it crossing the line, or
And
what's your guys?
how high do you think the insurance rates would
Yeah.
skyrocket?
Yeah, that's one of those that, you know, when Russ first started out, I really thought it was a genius idea just to get views, right?
Right.
You're always trying to raise the bar. You're always trying to go, hey, how can I be the guy that is taking it to the next level? And when he first started out, I really thought, I was like, dude, that might be a genius play if after you get all this, you start an actual professional haunted house. You know, this is the start, and this is like the myth behind it, like, no matter what, like, nobody's made it through, and that stuff, I mean, that circles through social media like crazy, right?
Right.
Nobody's ever made it through. You get your money back if you make it all the way through. All that stuff for a professional haunted house, none of that stuff exists. So that, I thought it was genius to start, and then it kind of went down a weird way to, like, is it snuff films? Like, is this guy just
Right,
getting off on this stuff?
Kinda
Like,
weirdo.
it was really weird. And yeah, Jeff and I kind of.
So we go to Trance World, which is the international trade show for haunted houses every year. And I mean, there's many of nights when you're sitting there at the hotel bar grabbing a beer, and you never know who you're going to be sitting next to. And I mean, we've sat next to Russ and had a beer before and listened in on conversations and seen him walking around a girlfriend on a leash, and you know, like he's an odd duck. He does weird things, and it's not just for the camera. And so when some of the new information that's come out about him came out, I don't think we were necessarily surprised by it because we had already seen unique and odd interactions with him when the cameras weren't on. And so I think, you know, you had that show that came out on one of the streaming services, and then more and more people started posting more about him. You had a couple of YouTubers try to take him down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think when all that happened, it just opened up the floodgates, and everything you can imagine about that guy is probably true. And so it's not my style. I do think that there are unique and
I'm back.
Welcome back.
I'm gonna go.
You're gonna go?
No, I should thank you.
extreme experiences out there that
I was
do
like,
it right
huh?
and do it safe.
Yeah,
that's the key. is the
Blackout,
safety.
what we covered last year, those guys don't seem like Russ McCamey at all. Like they're not doing it for this weird thrill or to make a snuff film or anything like that. They're genuinely doing like this interactive haunt. So do you think people can do that ethically? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is kind of, I mean, we had this conversation before. I'm like telling you guys some of the wild stuff that we've done at Frightmare too, where, you know, we always trying to raise the bar, right? And seeing how far you can go with being scary. And so like one of the original things that we did was we took this black slide and you had to enter Frightmare by getting into a slide and sliding 30 feet down the body chute, legit underground to enter the haunted house. Which, you know, that starts to get into the extreme. You're like, okay, this is more of an experience. This is more terrifying because nobody knows where they're going to this. So we started with that stuff, and then I told you guys about the Wheel of Death we had. We had an actual hamster wheel where you'd have to walk in it, and it spun as fast as you were walking, and then if your friend started running, then you had to start running, and then before too long, you were at full speed and you couldn't go any faster. You'd all tumble over. So I mean, we've pushed the elements on trying some of this extreme stuff, but to be honest, for a professional haunted house, it doesn't pan out. You can't get enough people through there to walk through. It kind of, you have your lines on where you can actually kind of peak, I guess.
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple actually nationally done correctly. There's one in California that I think does a great job with it. And then they do some pretty crazy physical stuff to where they lift you up at one point and then the bottom drops out underneath. You fall into a ball pit. You get shot with rubber bullets at one point. You typically have
Wait, where's this? Where's the
I
shot
think,
with
is it
rubber bullets?
San Quentin?
Yeah.
17th door. So 17th door is a prison-themed haunt, and you literally go through 17 rooms worth of prison-themed attraction. And I think they do theirs in a very safe way. They've also been around for years.
A day in the life of an inmate? What is this?
Yeah, that's
like,
wild.
This is crazy.
It's a unique experience, I think.
But there's no one touching you. It's
Oh,
just interactive.
No.
like- oh, there is. Okay.
There's
okay.
definitely people touching you.
Gotcha.
Because you're getting locked in the cells, you're getting all sorts of stuff. But then also, whenever I was doing my East Coast trip last year and I went to haunted houses, there was Field of Screams Lancaster, where they can literally pull you off the hayride. You don't have to wear a special glow stick to say that you can touch me or anything like that. If an actor wants to pull you off, they'll pull you off. So there are still attractions out there that are like, I don't know, those legendary style attractions where people say that, it happens, and it does. I agree the insurance is going to be insane on those, but I do think there are some out there who do it right and they do it in a safe manner. The problem is then you have the Russ McCamies of the world who make a bad image for the rest of us.
Right.
And those are the guys who, unfortunately, then people see those documentaries and items like that, and they're like, okay, I don't want to go to a haunted house.
Yeah, that's
because
bad for
this
the
is what
industry
it
for
is.
sure.
And so I'm actually surprised he was allowed to even attend the trade shows and all this stuff, because, I mean, there were a lot of people in the industry who did not appreciate what he was doing for the industry.
Yeah. Even the blackout guys were like vocalizing how much they didn't appreciate what he was doing at those conventions too. So
Exactly.
this episode of Lights Out is brought to you by Miracle Made. You a little tired? You a little sleepy? Huh? Want a little nap poo? You wanna snuggle in your little bed sheets? Well, listen up. Do you sleep hot? Do you sleep cold? Do you ever just want the temperature to be exactly perfect? Stop screwing around because you gotta get to bed. You gotta work in the morning. We'll get some Miracle Made. These sheets are inspired by NASA. Yeah, the people who placed other people on the moon. They use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at perfect temperature all night long. Also, you've probably heard me say, traditional bed sheets, they can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat. Disgusting. You can get acne, allergies, stuffy noses, forget about all that. Put that in the past. It's time to move on. Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning antibacterial bedding, such as sheets, pillows. There'll be some misconceptions out there. Someone's just asking me, because it's silver, isn't it weird? Are these like silver spikes in your back? No. Super comfortable. And you go to trying them, the code. But yeah, you guys are obviously working within limitations, right? So how do you, I feel like there is a lot of more creativity that's kind of involved.
I need a report on how much of our current budget goes to the school system. I'm the one who's yes.
Monday. The peak is shrouded in fog. It's the aftermath of one of the most violent storms to hit the area in months. A search helicopter powers through the mist, scouring the region for a pair of hikers from Tokyo who set out the day prior and haven't been seen or heard from since. This hunt has been ongoing for hours, sunlight dwindling as search teams comb every crevice, yet find no trace of anyone around. But as nightfall takes its grip, enveloping the area in complete blackness, suddenly, something strange enters their view. Just
Getting
south
better.
of Mount Asahidake,
That's
a
good.
crudely constructed, massive SOS sign beckons from a clearing. It's undeniable that the missing hikers have made this, and it's a damn good thing they did, because with
Install
conditions like
battery.
these, finding them otherwise would have been nearly impossible. The team swarms the area with newfound hope that these hikers just might be hiding nearby. They search and search and search until finally they find them. About a mile north, the two men emerge from a cave. They are completely disoriented, battered, and exhausted, but most prominently are in complete disbelief that the rescuers found them. As they're pulled up into the aircraft, the search team reassures them that they're gonna be okay before commending them on their efforts while out there. "We couldn't have found you without your help," they claim. "You guys did a really great job building that sign." The men pause for a minute, visibly confused. "I'm sorry. We didn't build the sign. We have no idea what you're talking about." You know, I'll admit, the island of Hokkaido is beautiful. It's a landscape adorned with volcanic mountaintops, trails with serene views, and a multitude of steam vents giving the area an almost dreamlike aesthetic. It's no wonder that it's one of the most popular hiking spots in Japan, as no matter what time of year you go, you're bound to have an experience you'll never forget. From the summit of Mount Asahidake, it was 2.6 miles directly south where the SOS sign awaited.
Oh, when was
Resting in a relatively flat wetland, it was constructed with 19 cleanly cut birch tree logs, each measuring at around 16 feet long. Interestingly, the deviation down here is considerably longer than the main hiking trail on the mountain, making its existence entirely perplexing. As far as it's known, there are no trails south of this mountain, implying that whoever built it had to have made their diversion from the north. A detour littered with steep cliffs, a dense forest, and even the turbulent Chubetsu River. At this point, it's completely unknown how this person got here, and for Japanese police, it was undeniable that a mystery was brewing on the mountain. Someone is still out there, likely pleading for help. One day later, a second team is dispatched to probe the area for any signs of hikers in distress, this time with emphasis on the wetland the sign sits in. And while they all held out hope of finding someone still alive, unfortunately, just a few short hours into their search, they'd uncover quite the contrary. Hidden near the SOS sign are scattered human remains covered in bite marks from wildlife, and nearby, a backpack containing various items. A Sony Walkman, 4 cassette tapes, toothpaste, a bar of soap, and a towel. At first glance, it's obvious that the belongings in the human bones are connected. However, a curious question lingered in everyone's mind. How did this person with enough energy and strength to build an SOS sign out of 19 massive logs allow themselves to die in nature? For the rescue team, nothing further was discovered that day. For what it's worth, though, this seemed like a pretty open and shut case. Locals have claimed that the weather on this mountain is volatile, with thunderstorms rolling in with hardly any notice. Perhaps this person got turned around, mistakenly made their way down here, and spent their final days awaiting help that never came. The sight at the SOS sign and the story it tells is grim, but all things considered, this case, again, seemed relatively straightforward. Someone passed away here and built an SOS sign before it happened. The only question really was, who was it? And how exactly did they get here? Pass, and examiners from the Asahikawa Medical University notify Hokkaido police that the human bones belong to a female. Reportedly, she was about 5 foot 3 inches tall, had type O blood, was somewhere between 20 and 40 years old at the time of her death, carried bone fractures in multiple locations, and died within the span of 1 to 3 years prior. Aside from this, there was no further identifying information about her, and effectively, she was consistent. Something is wrong. This doesn't make any sense at all.
Bro, you've been playing fucking Kovaaks a lot. What the fuck? I didn't know you had an alternate account with 600 hours on Kovaaks.
Upon calculating the weight of the SOS logs by utilizing numerous wood weight charts online, I found that
Dre's got a second account with 700 hours.
Anywhere between 150 and 400 pounds each, depending on diameter. Multiply this
What's
by
the name of
19
it?
segments this sign is comprised of, and we have a whopping total
What the
range
heck?
of 2,850
That's
and
actually my
7,600 pounds of
old
total
account
weight,
because
making
I
up
used
the
to be
sign.
Nova.
So with this information,
well, this
we're left
person
to
seems to
assume
know like
that a
half the
5'3" female with fractured
Okay.
bones had the energy and strength
Yeah.
to not only cut down 19 massive trees with tools that were never found,
So weird, babe.
but also had the stamina to transport anywhere between 1 and 3 tons of weight completely by herself. Let's not forget, either, that all of this was done after taking a treacherous 2.6-mile diversion down the south side of the mountain, undoubtedly causing considerable exhaustion from the elements. Without help, constructing this sign alone is an extraordinary feat.
What's
A
the
feat that doesn't add up given the context here. So was this person actually alone? Or was there perhaps someone else that died there with her? Alright guys, before we continue down the rabbit hole, I'd like to tell you about tonight's video sponsor, Incogni. Alright, so it seems like nearly every year now, I read about yet another data breach. I mean, just last month, millions of social security numbers were exposed in a massive hack. Your information is potentially out there, exposed to hackers who could use it to open up credit cards, buy a car. They could be you, approving purchases that you have no knowledge about. It goes without saying that the implications of this are horrifying, which is exactly why I use Incogni. Incogni is a service that actively safeguards your information through an intuitive dashboard that shows you how many data brokers have your information and if you've been affected by any data breaches. After signing up and giving them permission to work for you, their team gets at it, immediately scouring the internet for any traces of your info online while demanding its removal whenever it's found. Go to incogni.com/Nexpo and use code NEXPO for an exclusive offer of 60% off. Once again, that's incogni.com/Nexpo and use code NEXPO or click the link below to take your personal data off the market. Thank you so much to Incogni for sponsoring tonight's video. Now let's get back to it.
Alright. 1 minute. I'm just gotta beat your score real quick, boom. I'm not even gonna change my sense to beat it. Just because you bragged about it.
HQ, and investigators are scouring for clues. Of everything they uncovered, the cassette tapes seem to be the most promising lead on uncovering the identity of this woman. And so, they put them in their tape player and begin to listen. As they play, they're met with musical tracks taken from various anime TV shows. However, once they make it to the last one, something strange gives them pause.
What was your score, Bob?
Well,
I just got your score on
Despite the bones
very
being
low scale.
female, the voice on this recording, clearly in distress,
wow.
belongs to a man.
Let me go to my normal
And the
fucking
translation.
scenarios then.
SOS, help me. I'm stuck on the cliff. SOS, help me. I'm at the location where I first met the helicopter. The Sasa is deep and I can't climb up. Please pick me up here. Interesting. Aside from the blatant parallels to the SOS sign, I can't help but find it strange that this man uses not a single phrase implying that he's with someone. I don't know about you, but if I were stranded somewhere with another person, I'd plead for someone to help us, because we are the ones stuck here. In this recording, though, it sounds as if he's completely alone, unaware that a female is stranded in the exact same area. Almost like, to him, this female doesn't exist.
Sorry, Bob.
The woman who the bones belong to and the man who the voice belongs to almost exist in a vacuum. Remnants of two people discovered in the exact same spot, completely unaware of the other's existence. The only thing tying them together, an SOS sign nearly impossible for one person to build, and whispers of an agonizing death. A sight of demise that we are years too late with uncovering. Fascinated by this case, a Japanese reporter named Koyo Abaratani sets out to the site of the SOS sign in search of any clues the police may have overlooked. While uncovering anything new was one hell of a long shot, surprisingly, after they dug through some tree roots, they actually uncovered something. Just 165 feet north of the SOS sign and hidden under foliage was a large hole containing various belongings. 2 cameras, a notebook, and most prominently, a license. This ID belonged to a man named Kenji Iwamura, someone from Kanan City in southern Japan, over 800 miles south. This discovery was massive because, for all anyone knew, this was bound to be their guy. I mean, this had to have been the voice on the recording, right? And of course, this man must have been associated in some capacity with the female bones found at the same site. While she may be, up to this point, still unidentified, at the very least, those investigating this case finally had a name. Kenji Iwamura.
Let's meet them for it now.
It's the middle of summer, and 24-year-old Kenji Iwamura sets out for Mount